I felt bad he was having to witness this. Now I look back on it and realize it was glorious what he got to witness. I was interceding. I was making reparation. As I was driving from Sacramento all the way down to Huntington Beach, the Lord was using me to make reparation. It was like every demon in hell that was going to be cleansed out of California was coming against my body. And even though I was extremely, like I said, throwing up, fever, feeling awful, on the inside, Jesus was speaking to me. On the inside, cloistered from all of the physical pain and all of the illness, the Holy Spirit on the inside was speaking to me about making reparation, about paying a price, the same way that Jesus was crucified. But he didn't just get crucified, he suffered. He suffered the agony in the garden, the scourging at the pillar, the crowning of thorns, the carrying of the cross. And in Corinthians, it talks about us filling up what was lacking in the sufferings of Christ. And so as I was driving across California, every demon in hell that was going to get cleansed as a result of this prophetic word that I was releasing was coming against me to stop me from delivering that word. Now, to the enemy's demise, in the same way that when Jesus went to the cross and the enemy thought that he was defeating Jesus through death, but instead the enemy, what the enemy thought was victory, became his greatest demise, because Jesus through the cross conquered death and he paid the price for sin. And then 3 days later, he rose again from the dead. And the enemy was like, uh-oh, I made a big mistake. Well, as these enemies of humanity were trying to stop me from getting down to Southern California to release this word, we were in the car, and at one point we pulled over in some desert area. I had this disciple, I had him pull off the freeway, and I could hear the Lord, even though I was sick and throwing up and headache, I could hear him saying to me, get out of the car, take your clothes off, and I want you to go and release a word. Now, it was the middle of the night, and so I told my disciple, I said, hey, I want you to stay in the car. I want you to wait 5 minutes. And then I gave him a blanket or a towel, I forget which. I said, after 5 minutes, I want you to come walk toward me backward. I don't want you to see me. Please just trust me. Walk towards me backwards and bring this blanket or this towel to me. And so I got out of the car and I stripped down naked and I went for a walk, just following the Holy Spirit to the best of my maturity. I was in my 20s at the time. And I walked out and I began to prophesy. Now, this was not the exact word that I was taking down to Southern California. The Lord added to what I was originally going to do. In fact, I believe that God tricked the enemy, because I had told a couple of close confidants of this word I was going to release in Huntington Beach. And I think that the enemy heard that and was trying so hard to stop me that he didn't realize that the real word that was coming forth, the real word was going to come forth when I prophesied naked, like Isaiah in the middle of the night in a desert area on the way from Sacramento to Huntington Beach in California. And the final nail in the devil's coffin was when I finally made it there. And I'll tell you when I finally made it there, and the word I released at the end of the pier in Huntington Beach. And so I got out, I prophesied naked. I'm not allowed at this time to share what I declared, but after a few minutes, my disciple comes walking back out backwards with a blanket or a towel for me. And so I covered up. I walked back to the car. I got my clothes on. We got in the car and I continued driving to Southern California, throwing up every couple of hours and feeling and seeing in my spirit every foul demon you could imagine was pummeling my mind. I was seeing the sins of California. I was experiencing the debauchery of every level. If you could just imagine the sin, every demonic horde you could imagine was coming against my mind, and I couldn't stop feeling ill. And so we made it down to Southern California, and I was feeling so awful that I ended up not getting to meet with the CEO of the company. But what I did do was I went out to the pier in Huntington Beach with my bar of soap, and I walked to the end of the pier and I threw the bar of soap into the ocean, and I made a declaration that the Lord had given me, a prophetic word, and God was saying through releasing that bar of soap into the ocean that he is going to cleanse the people of California. He's going to cleanse the people of California.
You're the one the angels cry out to. You're the one the elders cast their crowns before. You're the one